Hello, people. How y'all doing? Well, it is 5:52 in the morning, and I got up at 2:30 in the morning, and I did some work on my project for a couple hours until I was mentally exhausted. And so I guess this would be the leftovers. Anyways, yeah, the last video I made was I was fairly incoherent. I was having trouble thinking. I was pretty miserable. So hopefully, despite the fact that I am completely miserable right now, I will do a better job of being focused and making sense and talking about the things that you care about, which you care about. If you're watching this, most likely coping with your benzo deal, and if you're trying to taper, getting off of it, and so I'll try to focus on that. And there's aspects to it that I was reflecting upon it. I don't seem to trust anybody no more, and like you need like a safe harbor, like to get through this thing. And it's like, I think I got one person I can trust now, besides myself. I still trust myself, which is very important. But I just got like this one guy that's like the only guy that hasn't messed with me during this whole thing in one way or another. So, anyways, let me tell you about my Thanksgiving. Okay, great. My battery is running low. Ugh. Yeah. I just had to push the cord back in. Anyways, so let me tell you about my Thanksgiving. Uh, so I have to leave out some of the more salient details of this just because of the nature of the forum and I'm protecting people and not divulging too much information, but I think it's fair for me to say this much about it. So I'm sitting in my house, minding my own business. I get a series of phone calls, and one of the phone calls wants to know if I have any uh, grub stubs, which is what they used to be called back in the day when us poor people used to get the food stamps. You tear them off and they leave a stub like a ticket stub. They come in a little book, but now they got the EBT cards and everything's electronic. So, reading between the lines, I was like, oh, I got like a card, but I don't have it. Somebody else has got it. And they're like, okay. I thought about it and I was like, well, I'm going to go over there and eat Thanksgiving anyway. And I assume if they want grub stubs, that it must be for grub. So I'm like, well, I can float a 20 towards stuffing and cranberries or whatever. Now, this is the day before Thanksgiving. And we are like, cool. So I thought there was another situation going over there where I thought I was going to get a ride down there. So I was like, just give me a call before you come down so I can be ready. Hop in your car and I can come down. And they're like, okay. So naturally, they don't call me. Somebody just pops up at my door and it's not even the right person and says, uh, yeah, so and so sent me um, to pick up that $20. And I knew this person and, I actually had decent interactions with them. So I'm like, okay. So I give them go to give them the $20 and they're like, you got $5 I can borrow for cigarettes? I'm like, dude, I already got like $1,020 loaned out, which is a lot of money for a poor person. And they're like, okay, okay. And I said, look, hold on a minute. So I go in the other room. I have to skip some of this, but I go in the other room and get where my money's at. I get some money, and I'm like, okay, this is for that other person. This is for you, because I know they got income. So I'm like, there's 20 for you, and 20 for the person you're picking the money up for. And I had something else, and I was like, and this goes to this person. And they're like, okay. And I said, but now, I don't ever want no cigarettes when I'm alone. but now that I know you're buying cigarettes and I know you're a smoker and I can get some cigarettes, I want a cigarette. I want you to bring me a cigarette. So they're like, okay. So they leave. A half an hour goes by. I call over to the house and I'm talking to the guy that I sent the other, that I didn't see or interact with, and that I was worried about, and I sent a little thing to, and I was like, what the heck's going on? I mean, I'm sitting here jonesing for a cigarette, and it's like, these people are smokers. They took $40 of my money, and I don't get one cigarette. I said, I'm pretty pissed off. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on. And he's like, well, I don't know. He's like, wait a minute. So-and-so just walked in the door. The guy that I saw at the door, we'll call him Joe. So anyways, Joe comes in, and I said, listen, you tell Joe to get his ass here and bring me a cigarette. He says, okay. And he's like, hey, bring Steve a cigarette and do it pretty fast. So I'm like, okay. Hang up the phone. Another 20 minutes go by. I live 5 minutes from their house. Another 20 minutes go by, and I'm so freaking mad. I'm sitting here left for an hour. I know the math probably doesn't compute, but I looked at the clock, and it was at least an hour, and I'm just jonesing for an hour. Like, I'm minding in my house, minding my own business. My addiction is asleep. That dragon called tobacco is asleep. And some motherfucker comes to my door and wakes Smog up. And I'm like, how could, what is the rationale for this? Are they taking that money and doing something else with it? I mean, what's the deal here? And everybody that knows me knows that if you come to my house and you ask me for money, you got to have a cigarette. That's the rules. Nobody's allowed to break the rules. So I'm jonesing like crazy, and I called the dude up, and I said, listen, man, they ain't here yet. I said, you tell them, don't come here, don't knock on my door. I'm angry. I'm real angry. I said, tell them not to come here. Because at one point I was going to be like, just give me 2 cigarettes and get the fuck out to the dude. Whoever showed up, whether it was the original person or the stand-in person, just give me 2 cigarettes and get the fuck out of here. And I was like, it's going to be touch and go whether I throw a right hand, because I was that mad. So, and then anyway, so they took my money, and I hopefully bought some food with it to go with the cigarettes that I didn't get to smoke, and so put some of that stuffing in my turkey. And I called a relation that lives in Florida, and he said, man, if that was me, I said, listen, I don't want to go down. I said, I didn't want to go down there and do some kind of weird one-man intervention or something. He said, listen, if that was me, I would have went down here. I would have went down there and I said, I paid for this shit, and I would have repossessed the stuffing right out of the turkey. And I laughed, and but the next day, I don't get no phone calls or nothing like that. So, but the next day, the guy who was like in the periphery of it, that wasn't showing up in the door or talking to me on the phone, asking me for things, he was like, man, I was going to bring you down some turkey. And I'm like, I don't want no turkey. I'm boycotting Thanksgiving. I'm on the side of the turkeys. The hell with Thanksgiving. I wanted to know that, I'm mad, and that's just, I'm weird like that. I don't get mad over the money. I get mad over stupid shit like that. Like, how can somebody who's a smoker take somebody's money, tell them they're going to buy cigarettes, and let them jones for over an hour? It's bullshit. So that's how I spent my Thanksgiving, was being angry and sick. And like I said, I don't have a whole lot of people I can trust, and I don't, there's a way, way, way more details that I can't go into on that. But it's like, it's so confusing. You hear this from this person and this from that person, and you just get confused. And I still trust myself to think logically and clearly, at least at times. I can usually tell, because I can hear myself talk when I'm not making any damn sense. And that was one of them times I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. It just kept sticking in my head. It's like, $40 left in my house to buy cigarettes. I want 1 cigarette. I got no cigarettes. That just kept running through my head. And the bad part about that is, like, I was just sitting there, not indulging in my destructive addiction and not having any cravings. And August woke up, I just would I wanted 2 cigarettes. I started out wanting 1 cigarette, but then I was like, I'll settle for two, because people do that to me all the time. They're like, here's 2 cigarettes, or you can have 4 cigarettes or whatever. And I'm like, no, and I'll give them back, and they'll just look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I don't, yeah, I don't want to indulge that. It's just gonna give me a headache. It's like I'm trying not to smoke, but I got that addiction thing. So, anyways, so I feel like I don't have any safe harbor. I got like the one guy I can trust. Everybody else messes with me. Everybody else don't get it. You know, uh, they don't understand the amount of suffering that I'm going through, and which I don't understand that. I do kind of understand it because I've had CRPS for 32 years, and I've never really let it define me. Uh, you know, I've never let people like think think of me that way. I actually had people like afraid of me as far as like fighting and stuff. I never let them think of me as crippled or disabled, and so I never was like a sympathy fishing type of dude. No matter what this looks like me on the internet here, I was never like that. Uh, so I can kind of understand where they would come to the conclusion that if I tell them, I don't know, it just doesn't make it still doesn't add up, because it's like if I'm not complaining about CRPS and I got complaints about this benzo problem that I'm having, shouldn't the fact that I'm not complaining about one of the most notorious pain generating diseases in the world give you a clue to take my complaint seriously about the withdrawal symptoms that I'm going through? So yeah, I mean, I have a lot of instances where like just it, the support that I have is not support. It's like it's support, but it's unreliable and it's untrustworthy. And like a lot of times, this the um, I wouldn't call it, what would we call it? The emotional nonsense. We'll call it something nice and um, euphemistic. We'll call it emotional nonsense. The emotional nonsense that people throw my way. A lot of times, I don't think there's anything malicious behind it. It's just, you know, it's like wacky people. Anyways, lately I've just been really freaking physically miserable, like bad. Thanksgiving was very bad. I'm very bad right now. The CRPS symptoms are bad. Like I've said before, I couldn't have picked the worst thing to do to myself, I think, than to develop the benzo dependency, because I've already got something wrong with my nervous system. I think it just like plunges me through the 7 circles of hell, because I was already out there with the CRPS in the second or third circle, and sometimes I feel like the benzo things put me out there in the circle with Judas and the traitors. And yeah, yeah, this is very hard. In 2 days, I I have it arranged, so I have. Again, you still have to depend on people for support and stuff. So I'm going to depend on this. In 2 days, I'm going to go finally get my 3-phase bone scan thing for my pain clinic appointment on December 11th. And I'm counting on somebody. And I told him outright, I was humble, and I told him like I need moral support. I seem to be having trouble getting this done, and yeah, I need somebody there with me. And I'm going to rely on them and hope they come through. This is a person that has messed with me in the past, but beggars can't be choosers when it comes to that kind of stuff. I'm having a lot of digestive issues, and I know you got a bunch of GABA receptors in your stomach and in your digestive tract, and my stomach's always seems to be unhappy, and I still have the immobility issue, which means, like I said before, is like I'm just doing a lot of sitting around thinking. I can't really do a lot besides watch TV, think, write, and talk. My nerves were too shot to play guitar and to do any audiobook project. Or I've been doing some writing. So I'm working on. I do have a project of a series of videos that I want to put on YouTube about something that's anything but benzos, something that's not about benzos, and it's pretty challenging. It's the kind of thing where it's like every word counts, and it's not like this where I can just like be like a free range chicken pecking here and there, hoping for to find a piece of grain. I have to be very precise, and that's what I spent about 2 hours doing after I looked at the clock and saw that it was nowhere near dawn, and it's still, yeah, the sun ain't still about an hour from coming up. And anyways, the bone scan thing, they're gonna inject a radioactive isotope into my system. I don't like that idea. They said the only danger is a possibility of allergic reaction, but I don't like it. I don't like it because it's sort of a re-diagnosis of a disease that I've said to have for 32 years. The doctor just wants me to have it to make sure that I have the disease that I've had for 32 years. So it seems unnecessary to me. It's kind of an echo of the past where I went in there and I told people that I had um, RSD. This is what it was, CRPS was called back then, and they were like, yeah, okay, whatever. And they didn't believe me until they actually run the test. It's the same thing. This guy's not believing me that I have this disease, or doesn't believe that I have this disease until he does another test. So it's like an echo from 32 years ago. And anyways, so yeah, it's very irritating to me on that account. But I can't. This really isn't a doable thing living like this. Um, it's just too much physical suffering and too much pain. And I'm still going to stick it out, mind you. I'm still going to try to get help from pain management. And I'm still going to go to the orthopedist to see if I can get some mobility so I can do something else besides run my ever loving gob at y'all. And so I'm still going to try, but man, it is very, very hard. It's very hard to keep going. It's very hard to live in pain and discomfort every second of every day. And for many of you with the benzo withdrawal thing, you have some form of discomfort um, every second that you're awake and conscious. So you know how draining that is. And okay, I don't think I really stayed on point about just talking about benzo stuff, but in a way, it's all related because the thing with the Thanksgiving escapade is kind of important because it kind of has something to do with the benzo thing because I used to be able to blow stuff like that off like just as ridiculous and not let it bother me. Because of the benzo thing, stuff like that really irritates me. You know, used to be I'd be like, huh, it's people, son of a gun. And now it's more like people. So that has to do with that. And as far as like the physical suffering that I was talking about, I'm pretty sure that the benzo withdrawal amplifies the CRPS, and they get together like a tag team and suplex my ass. So, uh, yeah. As far as my dosing, the last dose I took was 9:30 last night. It's about 6 in the morning. So that's roughly 8.5. Uh, my math is so bad. Yeah, 8.5 hours um, between doses. I shouldn't be this miserable. I'm just miserable. Don't feel good physically. No matter how lucid, coherent, or semi-cheerful I may sound, I feel really awful. I feel pretty desolate. I know it's weird to hear somebody talk like that, but like that's just me. I'm just like conditioned to suffer. So I through like long episodes of physical torture, I've learned to separate this part from this part. And I can't always do that, mind you. If I like accidentally hit my hand with the hammer, this part and this part go together and they both yell at the same time, with acute pain. But as far as like chronic suffering, which no matter how severe chronic pain, it just means that it's ongoing and doesn't have a spike in it. Literally, like if you're stabbed, that's like acute pain. If you get like a stabbing pain, that's acute pain. I just have like throbbing, burning, cramping, just a bunch of miserable sensations. And yeah, I heard a lot of people in their Benzo description of how their withdrawal is come up with words like that, like a lot of different things like that with the burning, cramping. Um, like for a minute there, I was cold and like shaky, and that was weird. It passed, but like my hands, they're not trembling right now. Well, they're trembling a little bit. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, now that I'm looking at it, it's like, oh, I'm gonna tremble some more. But yeah, I get tremors and shit. It's stupid. It just seems stupid to me that to even be on here complaining just because it seems like it's such a low dose, but it affects you how it affects you. And I got the CRPS thing, so maybe a 1 milligram a day habit is equal to 2 or 3. I don't know. I don't know why this has been like this. I don't understand it. I'm not going to understand it because there's not going to be a wide pool of information. There's not going to be like, well, this guy's got CRPS in 75% of his body. There's not going to be any control group, just the one variable. There's not going to be a bunch of people to draw information from. I got to quit waving my hand in front of the camera. That's rude. Uh, yeah, I'm struggling. That's how I would definitely struggling as bad as I've struggled. Just feel awful physically, just freaking awful. And like I said, I don't really trust people. I don't trust not trusting anybody is. I don't like that. I just don't trust them. Just have the one guy I trust, and he doesn't live anywhere near me, so it's not like I can be asking him for too many favors. Plus, he's got like buku family, and he's a busy man. I talk to him at least once a week though, every week. But I don't see him. I haven't seen him for months. I don't see him very often. I guess I trust that other person I mentioned earlier that lives in Florida. I trust them pretty well, but I didn't really even count them because they're in Florida, But they've been trustworthy. They're an admitted alcoholic, but they've been trustworthy. I mean, I shouldn't insult them by not including them in that. But hell, the tongue is a fire. It gets you in trouble. You get burned. You talk enough, you're gonna say something wrong. Lord knows I talk enough. Oh man, what else? What else is there? Not really a whole lot. I mean, I gotta find some way to kill time. Can't kill time doing this because right now I'm just edgy and I'm drinking my second cup of coffee, which is stupid. I should not be doing that. But I gotta find some way to kill time. And I used up all my brain power earlier. I'm too uncomfortable and miserable physically. Gotta find something to do. Man, what a nightmare. It's like solitary confinement. I still have the hole in my wall, by the way, that the landlord didn't bother to come over and fix, and I didn't bother to bother him about it. I'm more bothered about other things, namely getting that bone scan thing over with, and getting that done. Um, yeah, this is like solitary confinement. Um, I don't really trust myself. I don't really trust people. I just find people toxic in general, whether they are or they aren't. That's another matter, but that's just the way. They seem to be toxic to me. And so I'm isolated, and then on top of being isolated, uh, I'm immobilized. I can't really do a whole lot physically. I could try to work out a weightlifting routine where I don't use my legs, where I'm just sitting in a chair, but there's only so much you can do just sitting down lifting weights. Get some kind of exercise that way. But yeah, this is hellish. Yeah, a prison of flesh, man. I don't know if that's a phrase original to me, but I wrote it in a novel in the year 2000, roughly 1999 or 2000. Um, I, I don't know. There's a whole not a whole lot that's new under the sun. So um, yeah, I'm sure somebody else came up with that. There's been plenty of people living in prisons of flesh. I was in a hospital once beside a guy that literally all he could do was talk. He was he had people like shaving for him and feeding him and everything. And I was just stuck in a room with them. I was young at that time. I don't remember how young, maybe teenage years. But I was just stuck in this room with this guy, and all he could do was talk, and that's what he did, like nonstop. That's all he could do. And what could I say? I just kind of sat there and listened. And you could turn me off, but I couldn't turn him off because I was stuck in a hospital bed beside the guy. And yeah, it all blurs together, so I can't remember exactly when that was, except for that I was young, and I remember he couldn't do nothing but talk, and he did some crying to me, and yeah, he was in a prison of flesh. Um, uh, yeah, I've been through some things, so um, I'm going to give it a little while longer yet. Try not to give up, and I can only imagine what I'm going to feel like going in for the bone scan thing. It's like if I had to go today, how would I endure it? I'd still have to do it. I already had that incident, which is actually recorded on here, where the night before, literally like 8, 9, 10 hours before I had to go in, I had somebody like upset me and not be supportive and say some stupid shit to me, get me all worked up and upset. And I couldn't sleep that night. I like literally stayed up all night, and then was sick. And uh, actually, my ride showed up here because I used uh, some sort of transportation service, and I had to go out there. It was too late to cancel them. The office wasn't open. I called the office like 4 o'clock in the morning. So like 6 o'clock in the morning, I went out there and told him like, look, I ain't going nowhere. I'm sorry. And I had like 20 bucks. I was going to give the guy 20 bucks because the people that from another transportation service told me that they don't get paid unless I sign this paper. And I was like, you need me to sign a paper or something saying you showed up? And he goes, no. And I said, are you going to get paid whether I jump in this car or not? And he goes, yep. And I'm like, good. And I kept my $20 in my pocket. I actually took the 20 out there because I felt bad. Um, anyways, yeah, so I'm just hoping to have it, not even, just not to feel wretched when I go in there, but, you know, if I have to updose to get through it or whatever. I mean, when I updosed for the dentist, I kept it at a quarter, and I took like um, 5 quarters over a 24-hour period to get through my going to the dentist and getting all that work done in my face, which, by the way, seems to have healed up okay. Not too sensitive as far as my metal crowns and stuff back here, which is cool because that took like 3 weeks for that to not be sensitive. So I updosed before with, I was just careful about it, and was able to drop it back down. I'm struggling right now to take a quarter milligram every 12 hours. So that's been my goal, but right now it's 9 hours, and I don't know if I'm going to make 12 hours right now. December 3rd is when I get the uh, Valium from my psych guy, which there's really no reason why he wouldn't write for me. He was going to write for me a month ago, but I told him not to because I wanted to wait, because I was like, I didn't want to make no hasty decisions. I wanted to think about it, because I actually needed more information from him to make sure that I could still get scripts off the, so that he didn't need proof that I wasn't getting Xanax scripts anymore. Because as I said in the other video, I'm not so sure about just dropping the Xanax completely and going all Valium. I've done experiments where I've taken small doses of Valium and tapered Xanax, and that seemed to work pretty good. But since I was getting it off of the street, I could only afford to get so much Valium, so I would get like 15 5 milligram pills a day, and they would run out, and then I would go back into. I couldn't keep a sustained pattern up because I had to buy it illegally, which, in some of these videos on here from way back, I'm being silly about hiding that, like somebody's going to prosecute my ass or whatever. So I'm saying about silly things about having a Valium detector that I got at Walmart and going out, like a metal detector, and finding it underneath a tree that had a squirrel in it and stuff, just silly stuff like that, just so I wouldn't have to say that I was buying stuff illegally. But I'm saying it now, and like anybody's going to prosecute me over that. I don't want to do that stuff. What I would like is, I would like the medical community to be smarter about this stuff, so people wouldn't have to do that, and they wouldn't like categorize. What word am I looking for? Categorize everyone the same. Like, well, this works for this guy. He got dropped off in a month and he's fine. And this guy, that's what they were telling me originally. Like, we drop people off faster than that. The guy drops me by a 50% dose and tells me usually we drop people off faster than this. I'm like, what the fuck? You just write them a bottle and say this is your last one. Good luck. Is that what you're talking about? That might work for some people, but some people that'll cause seizures and whatnot, and severe uh, vertigo, seizures. The list of things that can do to you. So that's the thing that I don't understand. Is like, everybody is an individual with this stuff. Like, I know somebody personally that they quit taking. They were on small doses of Xanax like me, but they quit taking it, and it bothered them for a little while, and that was it. They were like, well, yeah, I missed it for a little while, but they're like, it wasn't no big deal. And this has been a very big deal for me. So we're all individuals, and I don't know why the medical community don't get that, and they don't seem to want, because it's like a substance that people abuse. I guess they don't want to let people manage their own taper. You know, but as I've expressed earlier in this video, I'm kind of used to people not believing me about stuff, but it's like they don't believe you when you tell them something. So I went in there, like, and I told them, like, this is, I want to taper, but I want to do it safely and responsibly. And I was more or less telling him, like, you need to give me more Xanax and not have me at a 50% reduction, because I'm losing my damn mind and it's sicker than hell. And I went in there in withdrawal and told him how I was feeling and stuff, and the guy told me to take a blood pressure medication. Apparently he didn't believe me that I was as bad off as I was. So I'm kind of used to people not believing me. It's kind of been a theme of my life that people don't believe me when I say stuff. So, it got me into trouble when I was a kid. It got me into trouble after I got operated on. It's been getting me into trouble in my relationships with people here recently. It's getting me into trouble with the doctors and how they treat me. So, December 3rd, get the Valium. It's not going to be a question of, so I'll have enough of it to work with. And that's when I was doing the best, is when I had Valium and I was doing this. Like here's the Xanax, here's the Valium, and I was doing this. And slowly raising one and lowering the other. I didn't really even raise the Valium up. I just was taking 5 milligrams at a time tops. Usually a quarter. And never took more than 10 milligrams in a day, which I think 10 milligrams is equal to a half. So I think it'll work out pretty good. I'm pretty optimistic about that. I think this guy will work with me, the site guy, too. So yeah, if I can get to where I'm in less pain, I can walk around, and I can have Valium and take less of this Xanax ammonia cat piss smelling pills. I was thinking about that the other day when I was smelling the bottle. I'm like, God, it even smell evil. Smell like a cat piss ammonia smell. And yeah, so no matter how bad I feel right now, there's still hope. And that's one thing I got from my mother, as I've said before, is I got a little bit of a hopeful streak in me, or I guess I wouldn't be here. And that is 35 minutes of your time, and I daren't risk any more because I do have a tendency, as you know, to become tiresome. So I will talk to you. I probably won't talk to you for a while here because I don't know how that gone. Pushing the computer already away from me, like get this thing out of my face. But I kind of don't necessarily know how it'll go or how I'll feel or if I'll need to talk on here or whatever. But I figure I won't have to for a while because I just told you that what's going to happen is I'm going to get Valium and then I'll come back on here probably like after I get the Valium and I'll tell you how that goes. Because right now, Lord knows things ain't going very good. And yeah, turbulence, man. It's been a turbulent time in my life. The last year has been insane. But hang in there and see what's what. I want to find out. I'm actually just kind of curious to see how this all turn out. And I guess my curiosity is keeping me around to see if this will get better or not, despite of how bleak everything seems right now. And anyways, good luck to y'all. And in the meantime, between now and the next time you see me, I hope things go good for you. I hope you win the lottery. I hope you fall in love. I hope that the road rises to meet your feet and all good things possible happen to you. Goodbye. Whatever.